The late afternoon sun dipped low over Willow Creek estates, painting the manicured lawns with long, jagged shadows that seemed to claw at the pristine sidewalks. This was no ordinary neighborhood. It was a place where perfection wasn't just a goal. It was a commandment, etched into a tome of HOA rules thicker than a phone book. Dr. Emily Harper, the head of the city's forensic lab, usually found the whole thing faintly amusing. Her backyard, bursting with wildflowers and buzzing bees, was her quiet rebellion against the cookie-cutter conformity of Willow Creek. But today, amusement was the last thing on her mind. Emily's world revolved around her 11-year-old daughter, Lily, a bright spark of a kid who faced type 1 diabetes with a courage that often left Emily speechless. Lily's lifeline was her continuous glucose monitor, a small VYC on her arm that tracked her blood sugar, sending alerts to her insulin pump and a handheld receiver. It was her silent guardian, warning her of dangerous spikes or crashes. That Tuesday, with summer heat hanging heavy in the air, Lily was out in their driveway, plugging her CGM receiver into an outdoor outlet to charge. Her scruffy rescue mutt, Max, panted happily beside her after a game of chase that had left her giggling. She was wiping down the sensor sight on her arm, a routine she'd mastered, when a shadow loomed over her. Enter Margaret Voss, the HOA's self-styled queen of order. With her stiff gray hair and lips perpetually pinched, Margaret was Willow Creek's enforcer, a woman who saw kids, bikes, and anything less than sterile perfection as a personal affront. Her own yard was a museum of clipped hedges and lifeless grass, a shrine to her obsession with control. Emily had clashed with her before. Margaret once complained about Emily's unkempt wildflowers and even had the nerve to suggest Lily's CGM was unseemly in public. Just last week, an HOA email, dripping with passive-aggressive venom, had flagged a speck of mildew on Emily's fence as a violation. Emily knew Margaret was behind it. Lily had mentioned something odd. Tush caught Margaret staring at her CGM in the park, her face twisted with something like anger. Now, in the driveway, Margaret stood with arms crossed, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "What do you think you're doing, young lady, cluttering up this driveway with your gadgets?" she snapped. Lily, startled but polite, explained she was charging her glucose monitor to manage her diabetes. Margaret's response was a dismissive huff. "Diabetes? Tragic, I'm sure, but that's no excuse for this mess. We rend de vice out in the open. It's an eyesore." Lily tried to explain, her voice small but steady, holding up the receiver to show its low battery. But before she could finish, Margaret, already wielding a heavy-duty pressure washer for her endless driveway, scrubbing, moved with terrifying speed. Without warning, she aimed the metal wand at Lily and unleashed a 4,000 psi jet of water. The blast hit Lily's arm like a sledgehammer, shredding her CGM and slicing through her skin in a clean, horrifying gash. Lily screamed, a raw cry of shock and pain, collapsing onto the concrete as blood mixed with water. The CGM, sparking and smoking, hung uselessly from its adhesive. Emily, working in her home office on a tricky DNA report, heard the scream, a sound that didn't just reach her ears but stabbed straight into her heart. She was out the door in seconds, her pulse racing, only to find her worst nightmare. Lily sobbing on the ground, clutching her bleeding arm, and Margaret standing there, pressure washer dripping, her face showing not remorse but a flicker of cold satisfaction. "Lily! Oh God, Lily!" Emily's voice broke as she knelt beside her daughter, gently prying her fingers from the wound. It was bad, deep, precise, and already swelling with bright blood. Years of forensic work told her this was no scrape. It was a high-pressure injection injury, potentially laced with grit and chemicals. Margaret, now feigning concern, muttered, "It was just a bit of water. She shouldn't have been in the way." Emily's gaze snapped to her, icy and lethal. "A bit of water? You've maimed my daughter and destroyed her medical VYC. This is assault." As Emily wrapped Lily's arm in a clean towel and called 911, her forensic brain kicked into overdrive. She noted flecks of green paint on the driveway paint that didn't match her house and a faint oily sheen on her rose bushes, smelling of detergent and machine oil. Sirens wailed as an ambulance and police arrived. Paramedics, grim-faced, confirmed the wound's severity. Deep tissue damage, risk of infection, possible nerve issues. They urged immediate ER transport. Emily, fighting to stay calm, spoke to Officer Daniels, detailing the incident and pointing out the paint and residue. Margaret, meanwhile, played the VY Tim, claiming Lily darted into her spray and calling the CGM unsanitary. Daniels' jaw tightened, but he stayed professional, noting the allegations of deliberate assault. Before joining Lily in the ambulance, Emily, with Daniels' permission, grabbed a sterile EVY Denke kit from her car, a habit from her job that now felt like fate. She swabbed Lily's wound, photographed the scene, and collected paint flecks, her mind already piecing together a hypothesis. The paint came from Margaret's aging pressure washer. At the ER, Dr. Patel cleaned and stitched Lily's wound, warning of potential necrosis or infection from contaminants forced deep into her tissue. Lily, brave but shaken, flinched at every noise, haunted by Margaret's betrayal. The financial hit was immediate. Ambulance fees, ER costs, and the urgent need for a new CGM at a VYC costing thousands, without which Lily faced risky manual blood sugar checks. The next day, Emily, exhausted from waking Lily every 2 hours to prick her finger, met Detective Laura Bennett at her lab. She'd recused herself from the case to avoid bias, but shared her EVY Denke and observations. Bennett, a sharp investigator, had impounded Margaret's pressure washer despite her threats of important connections. Over days, Emily's team analyzed the EVY Denke. The paint matched Margaret's machine. Swabs confirmed her detergent and metal particles from the washer's worn nozzle, and tests recreated the blast force. Pro-VY-ing, it was a deliberate, close-range attack, not the stray splash Margaret claimed. Bennett uncovered a chilling detail. Margaret's granddaughter had died years ago, reliant on a medical DVYC. Her unresolved grief had twisted into bitterness, and Lily's CGM seemed to trigger her rage. It didn't excuse her actions, but it explained the venom. Armed with the forensic report, neighbor testimonies, and Lily's clear account, the DA charged Margaret with assault, reckless endangerment, and property destruction. Her arrest, on her pristine lawn, was the talk of Willow Creek, a once untouchable figure now cuffed and furious. Emily sued, and the CIVYL trial was a rout. The forensic EVY Denke, presented by her lab's lead scientist, crushed Margaret's defenses. The court awarded damages for medical costs, the CGM, and Lily's trauma, bankrupting Margaret. Her house, once a symbol of control, became a prison of debt. The HOA, reeling from backlash, ousted Margaret and passed a medical to VYC safe zone rule, banning dangerous equipment near to VYC users and mandating sensitive VY-tie training. Willow Creek, shaken, began a change. Lily healed, her scar a faint reminder, her spirit resilient. She got a new CGM and drew superheroes with Magic de VYCS on the driveway, now a safer space. Emily, watching her play, felt a mix of lingering anger, gratitude, and grim pride. Justice wasn't just served, it was proven, documented, and woven into the community's conscience. Margaret's silent, crumbling house stood as a warning. Cruelty has consequences. So what do you think? Was Margaret's punishment too harsh, or did she get what she deserved? Should HOAs have the power to dictate how people manage medical needs? And how far should a community go to protect its most vulnerable? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if this story got you fired up, and subscribe for more real-life dramas that'll keep you talking.